Yu Hakusho Ranking the Classes is a series created by Atari HMB when it comes to discussing the general power scale, speed, and capabilities of each individual class that has been ranked from the spirit world. However, in today's video, we will be clearing up a lot of misinformation that was presented in the last video. These are the 7 top new updates of Yu Hakusho Ranking the Classes.
And if you enjoy videos like this, ensure that you subscribe to the channel.
Hello everyone, it is me, Atari HMB. In today's video, it's going to be discussion about Yu Hakusho Ranking the Classes and 7 particular updates that I need to give. This is because the viz and the original statements made from the Funimation are not congruent with the official Japanese claims that were made originally when it came down to the manga. So, in today's video, sit back and enjoy this installment of Yu Hakusho Ranking the Classes updates. We're going to be going from the D to the A class level characters, or primarily information that was not presented in the last video, and have further discussion. Number 7. Early Dark Tournament characters are actually D class. This is a statement that was backed up by the Yu Hakusho 2005 databook, where it states that HIEI was actually nothing more but a near D class, or at least an upper D class by this point in the series before the major event of the tournament. This is very huge because it tells us that the D class level fighters are a lot more impressive than we initially thought. And when you factor in that Suzaku and Yusuke are capable of what they did already, it really becomes scary when you think about how strong they really are. Number 6. HIEI and Yusuke were closer to power than you would think. A lot of people get the impression that HIEI was at least twice as fast as Yusuke in the original Funimation and Viz manga translation. This is because Yusuke had stated he only saw 8 slashes that HIEI initiated on Seiryu. However, in the official Japanese statement, Yusuke actually said he saw 15 out of 16 of the slashes HIEI did, meaning he only missed about 1. This overall implies that HIEI is not much faster than Yusuke at all, which is really a big deal. This is huge because it lets us know that when Yusuke is obviously emotionally invested, he is able to keep up with HIEI, or in fact even double his level of attack potency, speed, and general overall combat abilities. And we're going to prove that going on to the next one. Number 5. The Jagan Multiplier. In the last video, we didn't really talk too much about the Jagan Multiplier, but it's not too big a deal. It was stated in the official Japanese that HIEI's overall spectral or spiritual power was doubled when he did go into his Jagan transformation. Given that this is something most people don't know about, it does help when it comes to power scaling general speed and possible speeds he has in later films where he does reuse the form, or in versus battles if you allow him to use that form. You'd have to note that everything doubles and amplifies, including illusionary hacks, speed, and power and durability, all congruently. Okay, wait. I didn't include this in the original recording, but it should be noted that the HIEI JAGANSHI form is actually a multiplier at least 5 times over. This is because the statement itself clarifies that it is many times over its general, number. And this also includes multiplying the hacks that it comes with as well. So I think that this is quite important because it's definitely more than double. But I included the double statement just so you know where the anime lies on it, whereas the data book is manga specific, though I still think it could be applied. This is important information I thought you guys should know as well. But let's continue on with the list. Number 4. Spirit energy is light-based. A lot of people probably saw my last videos and understand that characters in Yu Hakusho are light speed. However, there are a lot of examples that should be used in this video to kind of get across that notion. This is because a lot of people found it hard to believe that Suzaku was at the speed I made him claim to be. And of course, incrodulistic nature for beginning of series characters will always occur, kind of like people not accepting Roshi as moon level, or that Naruto dodged nearly light speed attacks from Haku. It does happen, and a lot of people are just surprised because you're always so used to beginning of series characters being much weaker than you would expect them to be. However, there's much more evidence than you would imagine. Musashi is one example I've already used in the last video, so I won't discuss him again. Yusuke's ray gun bouncing off of the mirror is one point, but I want to back it up a little bit more. According to Koenma, the ray gun is actually aura, which aura, according to Yusuke in the later scans, which the aura emitted from Hiei and Keiko's body, was considered to be light. This is backed up when Genkai utilizes it because it also has the reflection and properties of light. An aura is nothing more but light in this sense, or light energy, that is being gathered in a spiritual-like form and shot out the tips of the finger. So in other words, it makes some more sense. In the official anime, all of the time, or generally every being when Yusuke shot his first spirit gun was pretty much in a standstill, which kind of gives the implication that it was supposed to be a laser-like substance. Which makes sense, because we've already talked about how the ray gun is already considered to be, well, literally based on a ray gun for its actual pun. And believe it or not, that's not the only occurrence. Characters such as Shishiwakumaru use the term Soreha Kageda, which means it's a shadow, or it's just my shadow when Kuwabara attacked him. This statement is not just a hyperbole, but it's actual literally what he would consider to just be his shadow. Again, keep in mind, Shishiwakumaru is far stronger than Suzuki, who is capable of creating, well, alternate dimensions without using the dimensional cape that Shishiwakumaru used. And he was the same guy who casually dodged Kuwabara without even trying while suppressing his spiritual energy. But the point is, even though Genkai dodged him barely and then she just amped up her speed during combat, it is quite impressive. The aura that Shishiwakumaru admitted was later reflected in the form of light. Now, we already talked about how aura is literally light, and of course, Genkai reflected that off of Shishiwakumaru, and it's literally called Spiritual Light Reflection Mirror. So because of that, it's quite literally reflecting light from his actual spiritual aura. And this is backed up even further when characters such as Suzuki claims that the spirit light reflection impulsion thing that you sent on Shishiwakumaru would not work against me. And he explains that technique requires that both of your energies be at the same wavelength, or you can't use it, right? However, I'm able to change the wavelength of my demon energy at will, and of course, he already showed that he's able to do it at 7 different levels. Now, wavelength for Yu Hakusho purposes needs to be obviously moving in relation to light. The reason we know it's moving in this correlation as far as light speed for these wavelengths is because Suzaku was literally using electric waves, or electromagnetic waves in this case, since electricity was moving in the form of a wave, hence why Yusuke dodged it and still got caught. And we've already discussed that it's literally made of light by Yusuke's statement and by Genkai's statement multiple times over, as it also literally glows. There's even scans when Kuwabara utilizes it, and obviously it glows. That's how spirit energy works. It's literally the compounds of light, but it's spiritual. And of course, it's not limited to light speed since it's obviously a fiction. This was discussed in one of Clyde's videos when he talked about Bleach and the same properties, like how the Zero is literally light but can be propagated to move 20 times faster using a bala. But regardless of that, even Hiei's, Ensatsu Kokuryuha is literally a wave of, flame energy or fire, which can be argued infrared if you want to reach, which would still be moving around the light speed spectrum since it would travel under that wavelength. So based on just how spirit energy works for Yu Yu Hakusho itself, there's many pieces of evidence to suggest that it moves at general light speed. In fact, according to the original Japanese, Yusuke shot his ray gun into spirit world originally. And you can actually see it here that the ray gun dissipates into the atmosphere because it obviously transcended the general fabric of space. This implies that it did reach Genkai when he asked Koenma, hey, do you think it reached her? Which I think holds quite a bit of merit. And keep in mind, this is spirit-cuffed Yusuke. Which, speaking of spirit gun, that leads us to Number 3. The Spirit Gun's actual power. Now, as you guys may have seen in my last videos of ranking the classes, I've made claims that the Spirit Gun is only about 2 times as strong as the normal punch. However, that's based on the viz in the original English dub, which is completely incorrect, believe it or not. The original statement for the Spirit Gun is, I'm going to say it in Japanese, it's Panchi no nanbai mono ido chikaro hana, which just means it's many times more powerful than a regular punch. Nanbai is what they use to refer to many-fold, or many times over. As we discussed before, a couple is 2, few is 3, several is 4 to 5, and many is 5 to 6, or any other higher number. For the most part, since we don't have a reference base for how much stronger it is than his punch, and given his teacher didn't die, and also keep in mind the ray gun, or the spirit gun in this case, is based on the proportion of how much power Yusuke puts into it, I don't think a Yusuke who didn't know what was going on is going to purposely decapitate his teacher with a light speed level punch that's obviously moving very quickly. Of course, it hit him spiritually as well as physically, so it's not intended to kill him at all. But the main purpose is this: the ray gun is at least 5 times stronger, which is a big deal because it goes to show that Yusuke's later calcs we did would be much higher in terms of attack potency. And I think that overall this helps us understand a little bit of how his spirit gun has improved throughout the rest of the series. Even the spirit enhancer ring increases his regular spirit gun by many-fold as well. So it's like, okay, so I have something that's 5 times stronger than my normal punches that are spiritually enhanced and can break entire walls on wall level. And you're going to amplify that by 5 times with the spirit gun. Since Yusuke was able to lift up a tree and such, that should be around wall level. And then you factor in that Yusuke could stack on that by 5 times again, which is at least 25 times the amount of joules of energy it takes to destroy a tree, which for very low class Yusuke, that's actually not too bad. That's actually pretty impressive. You have to factor in though, since we know that the JAGANSHI form is at least 2 times base, you have to also double this when Yusuke is emotionally invested, since when Yusuke was emotionally angry, he was able to at least be subpar with HIEI, or almost relativistic to HIEI's power and strength. HIEI just had more speed than him, so that's what caused Yusuke to lose. But now we move on to the next one, which is going to be number 2, the Spirit Cuff Multiplier. This one isn't going to take too long, but I think it is very important when it comes to understanding the principle of how strong these characters can really be. And that goes to show you here. The Spirit Cuffs is stated to be something Yusuke had to use until he was able to even sleep in them, utilizing his full power at all times. It's the same principle you have for Super Saiyan Grade 4, or the process Gohan and Goku did to get the Mastered Super Saiyan. Yusuke did the same thing, but it's actually stated in the Japanese original. Once you do that, your current full power will become a mere 20% of the power you can put out. So in other words, Yusuke's full power with those cuffs on is literally only 20% compared to when he releases them. So taking the cuffs off is a 5 times amp, which is going to be crazy for the last part of this video. Number 1, Toguro's true power. Now, this video is getting long, but I know what you guys are here for, Toguro's true power, which is the topic of the thumbnail. I usually don't make videos too long, but this one is a special occasion, since this is my celebrated 500 subscribers special. In order to tell you a little bit more about Toguro's strength, we have to first dive into what Yusuke was capable of. But before we do that, let's take a look at the feat that Yusuke pulled off when he shot his first ray gun at Toguro. Yusuke's first ray gun he shot at Toguro literally went over the horizon and caused a high-level explosion. However, how do we calculate this explosion? As I spoken in the last video, on a flat surface you could see about 3 miles over the horizon, generally speaking. However, depending on your altitude increases your vision overall. Going off of some basic pixel scaling and the table reference that I used, I was able to determine that the altitude they were at based on the stadium height was about 200-300 feet, which is where we get this pan screenshot from. Being at this high altitude allows you to see at least 21 plus miles over the horizon. Judging from the high altitude of the smoke as well as the mountains and the singed forest, we can determine that this is about 50 megatons to 60 plus megatons of TNT, and that's about small mountain level, which is actually accurate because HIEI was also able to produce a similar feat when he obviously took off half of the cliff of a mountain using the Dragon of the Darkness flame, which he later absorbed and became stronger than. Keep in mind, Yusuke is stronger than HIEI, and that's backed up by a lot of claims and statements that you'll see later on. But regardless, that's not the end of this feat. Of course, not only is this feat ignored and slept on, obviously due to the art style and art direction not really giving us the pure shock factor we would get from modern day animations like One Punch Man and other forms of animation that allows you to see the environmental destruction. Regardless of this feat, this is only Yusuke with the spirit cuffs. But not just that. According to Toya, this is Yusuke using about 60% of his power to test Toguro. So out of the 20%, Yusuke is only using 60% of that, which is about 12%, which means it's about 12% of Yusuke's full power without the spirit cuffs. The spirit cuffs obviously would multiply this by 5 times over, but we're just going to ignore the whole 5 times multiplier and just reduce the number down to its actual value. According to Yusuke's full strength without the spirit cuffs, this is about 12% of his full power, which is ridiculous. I don't think you actually realize this actually gives up what I told you in my B-class video a little bit more merit, but I want to just go over the numbers anyway. Being able to produce a level of attack potency at 50 megatons of TNT and being able to multiply to 500 megatons of TNT is already going to be impressive, but keep in mind, that's not where we stop. We stop here where Toguro starts to become a ridiculous miniature Incredible Hulk because in his 100% form, I'll have you know, Toguro in his 80% form only used 30% according to Toya, and that's already scary as it is. But this Toguro, just by flexing his aura, scratched and singed the same Yusuke who sent out a city-busting level attack. That same Yusuke who was singed by this later went into obviously his full power form and was able to beat down Toguro to that level or point, which does give it some merit that it is definitely at least a 5 times increase. That just backs up the numbers, but that's not where we get scary. We start to get scary when characters such as Toguro, oh boy, start hitting numbers that make your head spin when his 100% form was literally suppressed and was able to hurt a amplified 10 times multiplied Yusuke with just a flick of air pressure from his thumb, which goes to tell us that his percentages aren't necessarily linear. They're more so miniature transformations by 10%, 10%, etc., based on what he's doing. In other words, you can't really use linear multipliers to actually tell how strong he is as far as his AP and speed goes. But what we can tell you is that this Yusuke who shot off a ray gun, which should obviously be, city level, Yusuke of course stacked on, a higher multiplier. Now, in order to get the numbers, I don't want to get too confusing, but let's just say Yusuke was about at, 12%. He at least stacked on 5 times that level when he shot out his ray gun at Toguro, which at least that's 5 times stronger than his normal punches. Yusuke utilizing his normal punches he later did when he released the spirit cuffs should obviously be much stronger. Judging from what I was able to calculate from that means Yusuke's punches in terms of attack potency holds about the force equivalent to 100 megatons of TNT per punch since he was going full power and nearly killed Toguro until Toguro had to suppress himself down before going 100%. This same level of 100 megatons of TNT that Yusuke can release was literally stopped by Toguro's thumb. Yeah, his thumb. This is not only scary, but this is kind of that Dragon Ball level ridiculousness, when you can stop that much power with just your thumb casually. And keep in mind, Yusuke later on got angry, which could be argued to amplify his spiritual enemy twice as over, since we saw from HIEI in the Jagan, so you can argue Yusuke being a bit angry here would be even higher, at least 200 megatons of TNT, to which he decides to shoot off a stronger ray gun. Keep in mind, even Chu still does make the statement it's 3 times stronger, but he says it's over 3 times stronger, which also backs up the statement that it's at least a 5 times increase compared to his punch for the ray gun, and it's also backed up by the simple fact that they can increase their aura like Dragon Ball characters to improve their power. Jin makes this statement literally and verbatim, which means we can still use these numbers and they hold a lot more merit. Furthermore, it's actually backed up that Yusuke utilizing this level of an attack known as the super ray gun or the unreleased ray gun he did literally was at a point where I don't even know how to describe it. 1,000 megatons of TNT, which is about 1 teraton. This is the equivalent to at least small country tier. Yet Toguro was literally able to shout and yell at it. I don't know about you, but that's just kind of stupid. Toguro is so strong that his shout overpowers the ability of a country tier attack, arguably. And I think that that's not only scary, I think that's kind of ridiculous. This same Toguro can obviously amplify his strength when he utilizes a punch and do much more. Obviously, you can argue since he and Yusuke were near the borderline of A-class since they were considered upper A-class beings, he's still not going to reach Continental unless he can amplify this power by at least 700 more times over. But he is pretty close to that level, and given that Toguro is still, well, a bunch of him is still more preferable than one A-class, goes to show you that the A-class being multi-continental also holds merit. At the pinnacle of his strength based on attack potency, Toguro's actual shout does clock in, well, at least is holding enough joules of energy to destroy an entire small country or a large island. Of course, you have to factor in that this isn't the end of it. Yusuke later stacks on his life energy, and when he's angry, he breaks beyond the limit that we can't really calculate, of course, and this is at the point where he matches Toguro and Toguro's raw power. I can't tell you how much stronger Toguro's punches are than his shout, but let's just be very, well, lenient and just say it's about 2 times the strength, which it's clearly not. It's probably thousands of times stronger, but we're just going to say at least 2 times the strength to at least suggest that Toguro is in the small country level regions for the bare minimum. Since A classes are a threat to multiple national country units, this holds merit mathematically and with feats and power scaled statements. Which goes to show that Yusuke and Toguro, of course, when they break their limits, which Toguro died because he broke his limit too much, they go into those large country tiers if you want to highball and assert Toguro got 100 times stronger. Overall, this pretty much supports and suggests that Toguro is a monster. He's literally a monster. It doesn't make any sense. You're talking about a Biju bomb that he would just yell at and destroy. Now, of course, not all Biju bombs are the same strength, but you get the picture. Toguro is, of course, a character who would have a field day with a lot of other strong characters just because of how consistent his power is. Some series require a lot of charge up time to get that level of power, whereas Toguro kind of just does it with a flick of his thumb or just a shout of his voice. And being near his presence while not being at his level could literally kill you. Anyway, that has been the video for today. Let me know what you guys think. Were you surprised to find out Toguro is probably almost continental? Yeah, I was surprised myself, but obviously I'm not going to say he is unless I highball, but you get the picture. The main point is Toguro is a monster, and so is Yusuke. And upper B classes are very scary. We already know where A classes are based on where B classes scale, but the fact that B classes can be proven with feats and scaling to prove that they are in those small country tiers speaks a lot for itself and makes it seem like Sensui's claim as an S class may hold more merit. But we're not talking about the S classes just yet. Anyway, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and definitely share this video so that Yu Hakusho can get the respect it deserves from the power scaling community. I hope you guys understand that because I needed information from the data books and the official Japanese original source material, that is why it was taking me a lot longer to do these S-class videos, because I want more solid evidence to prove the S-classes are in those planet ranges, which they may even surpass. But I will talk about that when the time comes, when the video is fully out. But now you guys understand. Thank you for the 500 subscribers. This has been awesome, and thank you for all the supporters who have done so. I'm hoping on holding an event for when we have 1,000 subscribers for someone to offer a free commission of a character of their choice, and we're looking forward to that in the future since I am also an artist. Nonetheless, the point of this video was to provide meritable evidence based on the original source material and provide new levels of updates that will aid and the credibility for the S-Class video. Nonetheless, I repeat, this is Atari HMB, and I'm signing off. Peace.